Well, the liability for an overdose event tracks back to the practitioner's adherence to licensing board requirements and basically following what a reasonably prudent practitioner would do in the same or similar circumstance. And a lot of times the liability comes from doing nothing after they learn of an overdose. And that is really what happened in this particular course. I had to ask the audience, how many of you have had a patient overdose in your practice? And a large number of hands went up. And how many of you have a plan in place relative to what to do when you get that phone call? And there weren't many hands up. And so that brought it home to me that this is a very relevant topic and that practitioners need to understand that there are steps that they should be taking to minimize the potential of a bad legal outcome in the event of an investigation involving an overdose. When they learn of the overdose, they need to basically preserve the chart. They should not go back into it and immediately try to figure out what went wrong. They're probably going to have to involve legal counsel at some point because there are going to be steps that are necessary to corrective action steps, perhaps, to make sure that a miscommunication doesn't happen in the future, to make sure that risk evaluation and monitoring is well understood. And you want the protection so that that can't be used against you down the road. You only change this after you learned of this person's death, right? And you want practitioners to really go through and examine in their charts and to look at how they're documenting their patient risk and evaluation and prescribing rationale, if you would, for why they're giving the opioid in the amount that they are. They really need to understand what their licensing board wants them to write down and then try very hard to follow that and make sure that they're educating their patients. That's probably one of the most important things. I think that practitioners should prepare for more requirements from medical licensing boards that they report to a database relative to their overdose events in their practice. In other words, a state like Arizona is already requiring physicians to report an overdose event to a state database. I think that's going to continue to grow across the country. It's probably a really good thing in the long run, and it will lead to physicians being notified much earlier and being able to take corrective action that's necessary, and not because they've done something bad, but because we're all human. And I do think that that's what they need to prepare for.